Babes, if you thought an 18-hour road trip with your mother sounded like a nightmare, imagine doing it while you are completely trapped in the passenger seat. And she casually pulls out a picture of a floral barn bong and just uses it to aggressively gaslight you about your foundational family trauma. I mean, we are unwell.
My jaw is actually literally fully detached at this point.
Yeah.
We are watching the absolute intergenerational cost of emotional suppression, and it is playing out in high definition. It is a masterclass in narcissistic injury, honestly.
Welcome back, babes. Good morning, good night, good whenever. Honestly, we love you, we see you, and babes, thank you for being here.
Babes, the vodka spiked lemonades are absolutely on deck tonight, and honestly, we are feeling so good this evening.
So good.
Like, maybe it's the sunshine, maybe it's the extremely strong drinks, maybe Mercury is in retrograde, maybe it's a full moon. And honestly, babes, we don't know, and we don't care.
We truly do not care. I am already feeling weirdly optimistic today for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Like, I woke up, looked at my ceiling, and I was just like, you know what? I am spiritually healed. The universe and I are just in perfect alignment today.
I love that journey for you. I mean, I am currently operating on a frequency of midweek delusion so profound that I am literally one drink away from starting a fake DJ career.
Oh my God.
Like, I am ready to abandon my entire life, move to Ibiza, and just press buttons on a mixing board while wearing indoor sunglasses.
I am screaming. But honestly, we are just loving our little traditions with all of you. We are loving sitting down and talking. We are loving trying new foods. We are loving reading the comments. And babes, we are loving your mess.
We really are. We've been getting a steady flow of shady, snarky, or stupid submissions. And babes, thank you for feeding the chaos. The things you people are willing to casually confess to doing in your everyday lives are just sociologically fascinating.
It is wild. Okay, let's look at confession number 1. Quote, I spent 45 minutes stalking my ex's new girlfriend on LinkedIn to see where she went to college, and I completely forgot I was logged into my premium account. End quote.
Oh, no.
Babes, the physical reaction I just had to reading that, my stomach literally just dropped into my shoes.
The silence in the room just got incredibly loud. The sheer hubris of doing reconnaissance on a premium account.
It is the ultimate digital nightmare. Like, leaving a profile view notification on LinkedIn is a fate worse than death because it is so professional.
Right. It's not a casual platform.
Exactly. It's not an accidental Instagram, like, where you can just, I don't know, throw your phone in a river and hope they didn't see the push notification. LinkedIn sends an email.
A fully corporate, formalized summary.
Yes, it literally says, hello, your boyfriend's ex-girlfriend was just deeply admiring your proficiency in supply chain management.
I have to rule this one as objectively stupid. And I say that with the utmost respect for the hustle. But, like, you have to understand the operational security required for this kind of behavior.
Oh, completely.
LinkedIn is a trap. It is a corporate surveillance state designed to expose you. You cannot just waltz into someone's employment history without a tactical plan. If you were going to investigate the new partner, you do it on a secondary platform, or you outsource the labor to a friend. You do not use the platform that requires a monthly subscription fee to announce your presence.
It's just bad espionage, honestly. Okay, confession number 2. Quote, I saw my coworker at the grocery store while I was buying 3 boxes of frozen pizza and a bottle of cheap wine on a Tuesday night. We made direct eye contact, and I immediately turned my cart around and sprinted down the tampon aisle to pretend I didn't see him. End quote.
Okay, I think we can both analyze this and agree it is snarky, but it is completely morally justified.
100%. Protect your peace in the produce aisle.
Avoidance in the grocery store is a recognized survival tactic.
The grocery store is a highly vulnerable liminal space. You were standing there with your emotional support pizzas. You were probably wearing clothes that should never be seen under fluorescent lighting.
Definitely in sweatpants.
Right. And your hair is chaotic. You are not psychologically prepared to discuss, like, Q3 deliverables near the frozen peas.
Exactly. You are retreating to the feminine hygiene products because it is a safe zone where corporate small talk just goes to die. That is not just avoidance, that is strategic self-preservation.
Amen to that. All right, the final confession. Quote, I was furious at my boyfriend, and I meant to send a 5-minute, screaming, completely unhinged voice note to my best friend, detailing exactly how I was going to ruin his life. I accidentally sent it to my boss. End quote.
A tragedy in 3 acts.
I would legally have to change my identity. I would fake my own demise. Like, there is no coming back from your employer hearing you scream about slashing someone's tires.
That is deeply shady, chaotic, and frankly, a catastrophic failure of communication. Like, what is the protocol there? Do you walk into the office the next day and claim you are auditioning for a local theater production?
You literally just have to pack your desk in the middle of the night and never return. But you know what? All of this talk about catastrophic failures of execution reminds me of our morning. Because earlier today, babes, we went to our first DJ class.
We did.
And babes, it was an absolute disaster.
It was a humbling experience that challenged my entire perception of my own intelligence.
I walked into that studio with so much unearned delusional confidence. I thought, how hard can this possibly be? It's just sliding a little fader over, hitting a button, maybe waving your hands in the air a bit.
Right, just vibing.
But I looked at that mixing board and it looked like the control panel of a Boeing 747. I didn't understand a single piece of the equipment.
You were mashing buttons and turning dials with the chaotic energy of a toddler left alone in a science lab.
I really was.
The instructor was trying to explain the concept of BPMs, beats per minute, and you were just nodding solemnly, pretending you understood the intricate physics of sound design.
I was absolutely faking my way through the vocabulary. He's saying, you want to bring the low end down on the E2. And I was like, oh, absolutely, the low end. Bring it all the way down to the basement. I had no idea what a low end was.
Not at all.
And then I attempted a transition.
Oh, God. The sound that erupted from those studio monitors, it wasn't music. It was an auditory crime scene. It sounded like two washing machines full of metal spoons tumbling down a flight of concrete stairs.
It was horrifying. I tried to blend like a deep house track with a country song just to test the limits of human endurance, and I created a sonic panic attack.
You really did.
But despite possessing absolutely zero talent and creating an acoustic nightmare, I was feeling way too confident, way too early. I'm already in my head creating fake DJ names.
I am almost afraid to ask, but what is the current working title for this delusional persona?
DJ Cattywampus.
Oh, wow.
Right. I feel like it perfectly encapsulates my specific aesthetic, which is things being slightly off-center, inherently confusing, and completely destined for disaster.
DJ Cattywampus is a deeply unsettling brand, but I respect the commitment. I have to confess, though, while you were committing audio atrocities, I was taking the entire thing weirdly seriously.
You were so focused.
I touched exactly one crossfader, successfully muted the bass on a single track, and my brain instantly went into world tour planning mode, like I was mentally booking arenas in Berlin and Tokyo.
You look so intense. You had the headphones clamped on one ear, nodding your head with your eyes closed, acting like you were headlining a festival in Ibiza.
It is fascinating how the human brain tries to mask profound incompetence with sheer delusion. We think we can just show up, touch a few buttons, and everything will magically align without us having to put in the actual foundational work.
Exactly. Which is honestly the most perfect bridge into the absolute catastrophe we need to discuss today, because that specific kind of delusion thinking, you can just show up in a new location and things will magically work themselves out without doing any internal emotional work. That is exactly the energy Ethan packed into his suitcase when he moved to Wisconsin.
We really need to unpack this. The welcome to Plathville chaos is at an all-time high. Season 8, Episode 9, literally titled, It's All Cattywampus. Let us talk about Ethan's geographical cure.
Let's unpack the Ethan of it all, because this man has uprooted his entire existence. He packed up his life and moved across the literal country to a frozen tundra. And why? For his ex-girlfriend Teegan.
Right.
He stalks her across state lines in this grand, sweeping, cinematic gesture, and then he arrives and does absolutely nothing.
It is a phenomenal psychological study in learned helplessness and entitlement. He executes this massive geographical shift as this leap of faith to win her back, fundamentally believing that changing his zip code will act as a cure-all for his massive emotional stunting.
Yeah.
But the reality of his living situation completely exposes the truth. Like, have we fully processed the house he's living in?
Oh, we are going to process the house. Because he is living in a structure with no bed, zero furniture. He is sleeping in a sleeping bag on the bare floor.
Just a completely empty room.
He looks like a squatter. It is giving gap year in my own living room energy. He's a grown, married, and divorced adult man, and he is sleeping on a floor like he is at an unsupervised middle school sleepover.
What's fascinating here is the sheer audacity of expecting a woman to walk into that environment and feel romantic attraction. Like, he follows Teegan to her home state, but puts zero active effort into cultivating a relationship.
None.
Teegan herself points out the absurdity of it. He doesn't reach out. He doesn't call her on her days off. He doesn't initiate meaningful contact. He expects his physical proximity to do the heavy emotional lifting.
He honestly believes, I am physically located within a 50-mile radius of you, therefore we are successfully dating again.
That's his entire strategy.
And then we get the brownie scene, which I think needs to be studied in hostage negotiation classes because the tension was suffocating.
Let's analyze the mechanics of this brownie date. Ethan wants to bake brownies because he remembers Teegan likes them. It is, on paper, a surface-level sweet gesture, but it immediately falls apart because he does not possess measuring cups.
He is a grown man in a house with a kitchen attempting to bake, and he has zero tools. He has to use a random unmeasured drinking cup to try and visually estimate what a quarter cup of water and oil looks like.
It's chaotic.
But it's not even just the baking that is disastrous. It is the physical staging of the room.
Oh, the spatial dynamics of that room were tragic.
There is nowhere to sit. He makes Teegan sit on this tiny, sad little love seat in the den while he perches on a bar stool from the kitchen.
From across the room.
The physical distance between them is miles wide, but the emotional distance is a vast, unbridgeable chasm. The silence was deafening.
It really was.
There is no witty banter. There is no flirting. There is no, hey, come over here and help me guess how much oil this is. It is just two people trapped in a room, staring in the walls, waiting for a box mix to bake in absolute agony.
And we have to fiercely protect Teegan in this scenario. She looks around at the absolute lack of basic human amenities and just keeps repeating, interesting, interesting.
Yes, the Midwest, nice.
Which is a highly diplomatic Midwestern way of saying, you are a walking, breathing red flag, and I am internally calculating the fastest route to my car.
Exactly. She recognizes that if she engages with him, she is practically signing up to be his mother.
She doesn't want to teach a man in his 20s how to buy a mattress or how to purchase a measuring spoon. She explicitly states that she needs him to demonstrate maturity, growth, and the ability to hold a basic conversation.
And what is his response when she tries to initiate dialogue? He asks her how her car transmission is doing.
It is a protective mechanism. He defaults to automotive diagnostics because he has the emotional vocabulary of a carburetor.
A carburetor. I am dying.
It's true, though. He cannot articulate complex feelings. He cannot navigate vulnerability. So he retreats to the only domain where he feels competent, which is mechanics. It's a tragic symptom of his upbringing.
But wait, because just when you think this hostage situation brownie date cannot possibly get any more excruciating, the front door opens. And who waltzes in?
The architect of his emotional repression herself.
Kim. She drives 18 hours from Georgia to Wisconsin to operate her own personal boy mom delivery service. She brings him old, mismatched thrift store dining chairs, a table, and an extra fire pit.
The fire pit is such a brilliant symbol of redundant, overbearing maternal interference.
Yes.
Like, he already had a fire pit.
Yeah.
Lydia was practically shouting about it in her confessional. Ethan dug a hole in the frozen ground in the backyard for a fire pit. But Kim brings an above-ground one anyway, because heaven forbid her son experiences a single element of his life that wasn't directly provided by his mother.
Okay, but I have a massive bone to pick here. Why does Kim have the digital door code to his house?
She just walked right in.
She barged right in. She barged in earlier when he was at work, and now she barges in on this painful hangout with his ex-girlfriend. It's giving Mama Bear, who needs to aggressively mark her territory.
Oh, absolutely.
She wants to ensure that any woman in that house knows that Kim is the primary female authority figure in Ethan's life.
It is a textbook enmeshment tactic. She ignores all boundaries because, in her mind, Ethan's space is her space. Ethan's life is an extension of her own. And how does Ethan, the man who supposedly moved across the country to fight for Teegan, react when his mother interrupts his date?
He bails. He literally flees the scene.
He runs away.
He abandons Teegan alone with his mother in an unfurnished house to go buy a centerpiece at the store.
He claims he wanted to give them time for, quote, girl talk. That is not girl talk, Ethan. That is an ambush.
It's an interrogation.
You do not leave your ex-girlfriend alone with your intensely manipulative mother while unmeasured brownies bake in the oven. It is an act of sheer emotional cowardice.
He probably sprinted to his car, locked the doors, and just stared at his steering wheel for an hour. So then we are left with this solo chat between Kim and Teegan, and this is where Kim deploys high-level psychological warfare.
It truly is a masterclass in passive-aggressive maneuvering and shifting the narrative. Let's break down Kim's strategy here. She tries to position herself as the cool, understanding boy mom. Teegan is bravely explaining that Ethan is a terrible communicator, that he never prioritized her, and that his emotional distance forced them apart. And Kim nods along. She agrees. He says, yes, he is a horrible communicator.
But then she executes the most insidious pivot. She acknowledges Ethan has baggage, but she heavily implies that all of this emotional stunting is the direct fault of his ex-wife, Olivia.
It is the scapegoat mechanism at its finest. Kim says, as the mother of boys who don't always make the best choices in women, which is a direct, undeniable, calculated shot at Olivia.
So shade.
She tries to build an alliance with Teegan by throwing Olivia completely under the bus.
I am instituting a shade rule right now. We must drag Kim for her absolute refusal to take accountability for her own parenting. She constantly passes the buck. She acts like Ethan emerged from the womb at 22 years old, fully formed, completely normal, and was then suddenly ruined by another woman.
Precisely. Kim entirely erases her own role in his development.
No, Kim. You homeschooled him. You isolated him on a remote farm. You forbade him from having sugar, secular music, and normal, healthy social interactions with peers.
She controlled everything.
You actively suppressed his emotional development for 2 decades. You do not get to act like a bewildered bystander to his poor communication skills when you were the one who installed the faulty software in the first place.
It is infuriating to watch her rewrite history in real time. And poor Teegan is just sitting on that tiny love seat, probably calculating the exact distance to the front door.
Oh, she wanted to bolt.
Teegan even says in her confessional that it was nice of Kim to admit Ethan has flaws because a lot of boy moms think their sons are perfect. But Teegan doesn't quite realize that Kim is only admitting his flaws so she can weaponize them against a third party.
The entire vibe in that Wisconsin squatter house is just toxic, dusty, and severely lacking in basic seating arrangements. I need to leave the frozen tundra immediately. Let's head down to Tallahassee to thaw out and discuss the double date of doom.
Yes. Let us transition to Isaac and Kaylin going over to Lydia and Zach's house for pizza and board games.
Babes, I have to state for the record right now, I will fiercely defend Lydia and Zach. I really will. Out of this entire sprawling, dysfunctional family tree, they are actually in a real, loving adult marriage.
They are figuring it out.
They are hosting a game night in a furnished home, which is a beautifully normal, functional couple thing to do.
They're attempting to play the couples game, which is fundamentally a deck of cards designed to elicit slightly uncomfortable, revealing, or funny answers about your relationship dynamics.
Right. And they get the question, what is the craziest thing you've ever done? Lydia and Zach write down skydiving. But it is so heavily, wonderfully implied by the giggling, the smirking, and the side eyes that what they really wanted to write down was a deeply family-unfriendly, explicit bedroom answer.
And we know this because they immediately bring up the fact that Isaac had to come over to their house a week after the wedding to fix their broken bed.
We love a sexually liberated, bed-breaking king and queen. I am so serious. Good for them. They grew up in a repressive purity culture. Now they are exploring their marriage. They are happy. They are skydiving. They are breaking furniture. Thrive, babes. Protect Lydia and Zach at all costs.
They are demonstrating functional rebellion. But then we have Isaac. Isaac's supposed to be the bridge between the older, traumatized siblings and the younger kids. But his participation in this basic social exercise is abysmal.
So bad.
They ask the question, what is your fiercest ongoing debate? And Isaac literally writes the word nothing on his whiteboard.
He wrote nothing. Who goes to a game night, eats the free pizza, and then refuses to play the game? It's so incredibly rude.
It's a complete refusal to engage in the social contract of a double date.
And then it gets worse. They get the question, if one of you was a horse and one of you was a cowboy, who would ride who?
Now, any human being who has ever participated in secular society understands the glaring sexual innuendo of that question.
Right. A middle schooler understands that joke. But Isaac completely misses it. Or he pretends to miss it. He takes it entirely, painstakingly, literally.
He really does.
He looks at Kaylin and says, well, I would carry you because you're smaller. And then he draws a literal stick figure of himself on his hands and knees with Kaylin standing on his back.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Isaac is exhibiting the exact same trauma responses as Ethan. He is terrified of vulnerability. He avoids slightly uncomfortable or intimate questions. He hides behind this blank, overly literal stare, and he refuses to actively participate in analyzing his own relationship dynamics.
It's just easier to play dumb.
Exactly. He would rather look like a fool who doesn't understand a joke than risk showing a genuine adult emotion.
But wait, I have to push back on the innocent farm boy routine for a second, because what makes this stick figure drawing even crazier are the wild internet rumors flying around about Isaac right now.
The Reddit streets have been talking.
They have been screaming. There are rumors that he's out here smoking pot, living this wild party life, hanging out in the barn, doing edibles, sneaking out. I mean, making his innocent little, I don't understand what a cowboy is routine seems so ridiculous.
It really recontextualizes his whole aesthetic.
Like, babe, we know you're not that sheltered anymore. Stop playing the naive reality TV character when the internet is saying otherwise.
The contrast between his alleged off-screen behavior and his heavily curated, repressed on-screen persona is giving me whiplash. But if you want to talk about whiplash, we urgently need to discuss Barry's descent into modern wellness culture.
I am screaming the basement spa. I cannot unsee it. I will see Barry hanging completely upside down in my nightmares until the day I die.
Barry takes Zach out for a bonding experience at a, quote, wellness center. But as the camera pans around, it becomes abundantly clear that this is not a certified medical facility.
Not at all.
It is literally just some random dude's townhouse basement equipped with a chaotic assortment of Amazon fitness gear.
There are no diplomas on the wall. There are no certifications. It's just a guy who bought a vibration plate off the internet, threw some yoga mats on a concrete floor, and decided to start charging admission to divorced men having midlife crises.
It is the peak biohacking pipeline for vulnerable men. Barry gets on this vibration plate, which is physically shaking his entire skeletal structure, and casually mentions to the room that it makes his butt itch.
Why did we need to know that, Barry? Why did that audio need to be captured by a boom mic and broadcast to millions of viewers?
A question for the ages.
And then the climax of the scene, he straps his ankles into some medieval inversion contraption and hangs completely upside down, like a weird, bald, fundamentalist bat.
We have to pause and give immense praise to the production editors of this show, who deserve an Emmy for their sound design choices. While Barry is hanging upside down in a suburban basement, they overlay this thumping, aggressive, club-style rap music.
The lyrics were literally about shorties on the floor and licking, over footage of a conservative patriarch suspended by his ankles.
The cognitive dissonance is a legitimate work of art.
And I was spiraling, I was crying, laughing. It is the most absurd, surreal visual I have seen on television this year.
But underneath the comedy of the basement spa, there is a deeply revealing conversation happening. Because while they are engaging in this bizarre Amazon biohacking, Barry starts spilling the dating tea to Zach.
Here's where it gets incredibly shady. Barry is clearly trying to rebrand himself. He wants to be seen as this cool, muscular, modern, available bachelor. He's lifting weights, he's hanging out with his young son-in-law, he's talking to professional matchmakers.
Is on the market.
And he tells Zach that he was talking to a woman from Tennessee for hours on the phone. They were hitting it off, the conversation was flowing, it was going great.
Until she reveals the fatal flaw.
Until she mentions, casually, that she participates in trunk or treat for Halloween.
And Barry dumps her. Instantly.
Immediately.
He tells Zach that he had to cut it off because he doesn't do Halloween, fundamentally believing the holiday is demonic.
A woman is out here in a church parking lot, handing out fun-sized Snickers out of the trunk of a Honda Civic decorated like a pumpkin, and Barry is acting like she is summoning the Dark Lord. Like, get thee behind me, Satan, and take your Kit Kats with you.
It is a sociologically fascinating moment. Barry wants the perks of modern dating. He wants the validation of women finding his new physique attractive. But his rigid, fundamentalist worldview immediately snaps shut like a steel trap the second someone doesn't align with his exact bizarre parameters.
Too intense.
Trunk or treat is quite literally the most sanitized, innocent, church-approved version of Halloween in existence, and he labels her a demon.
Why does he do that? Like, why jump straight to demon?
Because labeling something demonic is a control mechanism. When a fundamentalist feels out of their depth in a secular environment, like modern dating, they use extreme religious language to quickly reestablish their own moral superiority. He didn't reject her because they were incompatible. He rejected her because she is evil, which keeps his ego perfectly intact.
That makes so much sense. I have to give massive praise to Zach in this scene, though. Zach is trapped, thigh to thigh, in a two-man zip-up mini sauna with his father-in-law, listening to this man call his hinge date a demon over a fun-sized candy bar, and Zach manages to keep a completely straight face.
The composure is unmatched.
He just nods solemnly. The sheer willpower required for Zach not to burst into hysterical laughter while sweating profusely next to Barry is heroic.
Zach earned his permanent spot in the family that day. His restraint was legendary. But sadly, the comedy of the basement spa is aggressively ripped away by the tragedy of the 18-hour road trip back to Georgia.
Oh, this road trip. This was dark. This was legitimately hard to watch. It felt invasive. Kim and Lydia are driving back from Wisconsin, and Kim is just on a relentless mission to provoke her daughter.
The entire trip is an exercise in pushing boundaries. Kim starts bragging that she has a custom playlist of 500 secular songs.
Which is so petty.
She is basically rubbing it in Lydia's face, that she gets to listen to whatever worldly music she wants now, completely ignoring the fact that Kim was the ultimate enforcer of the strict religious music rules that defined Lydia's entire childhood.
It's so hypocritical. But then Kim whips out her phone while actively driving a vehicle on the highway, might I add, and shoves a picture in Lydia's face. She asks her if she knows what it is. It's a bong. It has pretty little flowers painted on it. Ken apparently found it in the barn back home.
And Lydia, who has been sheltered her entire life and is deeply uncomfortable with drug paraphernalia, genuinely has no idea what she is looking at.
She looks so confused.
So Kim takes it upon herself to explain the mechanics of a water pipe to her traumatized daughter. And then, completely unprompted, Kim brags that she smoked pot twice in college.
My outrage was bubbling over. Kim forces her hyper-religious daughter to look at a bong solely so Kim can seem edgy and cool. She is doing this humble brag about her wild college days, completely disregarding how triggering and uncomfortable this dynamic is for Lydia.
It's just entirely self-serving.
It's like Kim is saying, look at the fun, rebellious, sinful life I got to lead before I locked you all in a fundamentalist compound and denied you the exact same experiences.
And we also have to ask the logistical question. Whose bong is it? Is it Isaac's, validating the Reddit rumors? Is it Amber's? Is it Ethan's leftover stash from his brief rebellion phase?
The mystery bong.
The fact that there's a floral bong just chilling in the barn is objectively hilarious, but Kim weaponizing it against Lydia's religious sensibilities is cruel.
It is cruel, and the bong was just the appetizer for the ambush. She gets Lydia trapped in this car for 18 hours, physically unable to leave, and then she launches into a massive, aggressive fight about the most sensitive, devastating topic imaginable, the tragic death of their brother, Joshua.
This is where Kim's behavior crosses the line from merely annoying reality TV villain to deeply problematic psychological abuse. We need to provide the context here for anyone trying to understand the gravity of this moment. Joshua was Kim and Barry's 17-month-old son who died in a tragic accident on a family farm many years ago.
It is so heartbreaking.
It was the defining catalyst for the family's extreme isolation.
Right. And after that horrific accident, Kim completely shut down. She didn't process the grief with her children. She didn't get them therapy. She just built a wall of religious fundamentalism around the surviving kids and expected them to bury their emotions.
Exactly. And now Kim is confronting Lydia because Lydia recently did an interview with a like-minded religious host where Lydia finally cried about her grief over Joshua. In that interview, Lydia honestly stated that she wasn't given the emotional tools to handle that trauma growing up.
And Kim is furious about this. She claims that Lydia talking about it publicly ripped open her wounds and made it unbearable for her. She accuses Lydia of blaming her for not communicating.
This raises a massive, glaring question that we need to pause and really look at. Why did Kim put her family on a national reality television show, broadcasting their lives to millions of people if she did not want them talking about their lives publicly?
Say it louder. You cannot have it both ways.
You cannot monetize your family's existence. Invite camera crews into your living room for 8 consecutive seasons. Profit off their interpersonal drama, and then demand that your adult children stay completely silent about the most defining traumatic event of their lives just because their honest perspective makes you look bad as a mother.
I wanted to reach through the television screen and give Lydia a standing ovation. Lydia kept her composure. She stood up to her mother while trapped in the passenger seat. She rightly, calmly called out that Kim never communicated with them about the tragedy.
She held her ground.
Lydia, who was a literal child living in that grief-stricken house, had to process that trauma with 0 tools and 0 support from her parents.
What we are seeing here is a textbook narcissistic injury. Kim's narcissism is fully on display. She's taking her daughter's profound, lifelong grief and turning it into a PR crisis for herself.
Yes.
She even admits to Lydia that she played the interview for her friends to get them to agree that Lydia was out of line. She is polling her adult friends to validate her anger at her grieving daughter. It is astounding behavior.
But wait, let me push back slightly just to play devil's advocate. Is Kim reacting this aggressively just because she's a narcissist? Or is it because Kim genuinely never processed the trauma herself, and seeing her daughter access those emotions is triggering a massive defense mechanism?
That is a very fair psychological distinction. Kim absolutely is operating from a place of unhealed, profound trauma. Losing a child is an unimaginable horror, and she clearly never received the professional help she needed to process that grief. However, having trauma does not excuse weaponizing it against her surviving children.
Right. Kim refuses to acknowledge that Lydia has her own valid trauma. In Kim's worldview, it is always only about Kim. My pain, my guilt, my wounds. Lydia lived through that nightmare too. Lydia lost a brother. Lydia's allowed to speak her truth.
And Kim's final defense in the car is the most damning. She yells, "Well, I didn't give you the tools, but nobody could have given you the tools to deal with that." It is a complete abdication of parental responsibility.
It's such a cop-out.
Yes, it was an unimaginable tragedy. But in the modern world, tools do exist. Professional counselors exist. Grief therapy exists. Child psychologists exist. You do not just bury your head in the sand for a decade, force your children to swallow their sorrow, and then yell at your adult child for crying about it 20 years later on a microphone.
It was so heavy, babes. The emotional toll of watching that car ride was exhausting. We need a palate cleanser. We need to categorize this chaos. Which brings up a massive debate we need to settle right now between Ethan, Isaac, and even Kim, who is actually the most emotionally repressed person in this family. Let's call this the Repression Olympics.
It is a fiercely competitive category. The men are practically sprinting toward emotional oblivion, but Kim is also a strong contender for how she deflects. Where do you stand?
I am taking a hard, unwavering stance. It is Ethan. Without a shadow of a doubt, Ethan takes the gold medal in repression.
Really? Ethan over Isaac?
Yes. The man could not answer 4 basic foundational questions from his own mother. When Kim asked him about Teegan, are you back together? Are you taking it slow? Are you just friends? His response was literally to grunt, turn his entire body around, walk into a bathroom, and shut the door in her face.
It was stunning avoidance. The physical retreat into a bathroom to escape a basic conversation is remarkable.
It is weaponized repression. If a guy pulled that stare at the wall, grunt, and leave the room stunt in our friend group, he would be exiled. We would block him on every platform immediately. You do not just grunt and walk away from a conversation with another human being. We would never let that survive in the real world.
I hear your argument for Ethan, and the bathroom retreat is strong evidence. But I'm going to advocate for Isaac as the true champion of repression.
Make your case.
Ethan at least knows he is avoiding the question. He feels the discomfort and flees. Isaac seems completely devoid of the capacity to even understand that a question is being asked. He wrote the word nothing on a piece of paper during a couples game.
That was wild.
He didn't even try to make a joke to deflect the tension. He just opted out of human connection entirely. He is Ethan 2.0 in training, but with even less awareness.
Okay, that is a terrifyingly fair point. Isaac is definitely on the path to becoming an impenetrable emotional brick wall. It's a tight race, but they all need serious help. Which brings us to the family dynamics that stress us out the most. If we were their court-appointed therapists, what brutally honest advice are we giving out?
We need to address the Kim and Lydia dynamic first because it is the most toxic, stressful thing on television right now.
It is giving me stress hives. If I could look directly into the camera and give advice to Kim, it would be this. Stop making your daughter's grief a reflection of your ego. Stop viewing your children as PR extensions of yourself. If your daughter is crying about her dead brother, your immediate biological response should be to hug her, not to call your friends to complain that she made you look like a bad communicator.
Exactly. My advice to Kim would be to stop weaponizing your newfound secular freedom. You do not need to show your traumatized, sheltered daughter pictures of drug paraphernalia and brag about your college days to prove that you are cool and liberated now. It's as pathetic and transparent. And what advice do you have for Lydia?
What would I tell Lydia? I would tell her to keep setting those boundaries. Do not let your mother gaslight you into silence. Your grief is yours. And for the love of all that is holy, never get in a moving vehicle with that woman for more than 20 minutes ever again. An 18-hour road trip was a tactical trap. Next time, buy a plane ticket.
Fly Delta, Lydia. Save yourself. Put your headphones in and ignore her. Now, looking at this entire sprawling family, who do we actually think has the best chance at escaping the cult vibes? Who is going to survive normal adult life outside the bubble?
I think we are in agreement on 2 of them right away, Lydia and Zach.
100%. They are thriving in their own lane.
They really are. They are ignoring the family drama as best they can. They are genuinely in love. They are breaking furniture. They are going skydiving. They are figuring out how to navigate the real world as a team, and they seem to have a healthy sense of humor about it. But the wild card here, the one I really want to talk about, is Mariah.
Yes. Let's discuss Mariah because her trajectory is fascinating.
There are all these messy internet Reddit rumors swirling around her right now. People are claiming that she invited the family out to Montana because she was actually transitioning out of a treatment center. There are rumors about her ex-boyfriend being incredibly shady, rumors about her finances, all of this wild, chaotic stuff.
The internet detectives are convinced she was in a transitional living situation, which is why her apartment wasn't ready when the family came to visit and why she seemed so emotionally fragile.
And you know what my hot take is? Even if every single one of those messy internet rumors is completely true, babes, Mariah is out in the world living. She is exploring. She is making massive mistakes. She is seeking professional help if she needs it. She is getting out of the fundamentalist bubble, and she is surviving. She's experiencing human life, you know, the good, the bad, the chaotic, and the messy.
I completely agree. Mariah has the grit to survive big city chaos. She would get knocked down, but she would figure it out. She is malleable. Ethan, on the other hand,
Oh, Ethan would perish.
if Ethan's Wi-Fi router went down, or if his car wouldn't start on a Tuesday, he would completely emotionally collapse. He would just sit on a sleeping bag in the dark, stare at the wall, and wait for the end of days. He possesses zero survival skills for navigating the modern emotional landscape.
None. He is doomed unless he gets intensive therapy and a real mattress. All right, to wrap up this analysis, let's compare the absolute chaos of their rules to our own lives. What are the things we watch today that would never fly in our families?
Where do we even begin? The generational trauma jokes write themselves with this family.
If my mom brought me a picture of a bong she found in the garage and tried to brag about her wild college days to me while trapping me in a car, babes, my aunties would never let her live it down. They would roast her at every family gathering until the end of time.
It would become lore.
She would walk into Thanksgiving and they would yell, "Oh, here comes Snoop Dogg with the turkey." It would be relentless, merciless mocking.
And if my father-in-law trapped me in a zip-up basement mini sauna or bare thighs touching and started complaining that his hinge date was a literal demon because she handed out fun-sized candy at trunk or treat, I would legally emancipate myself from the family. I would climb out of the basement egress window and run into the night. I would change my name.
A Plath Thanksgiving must be the most depressing event on earth. It must just be everyone staring at a beige wall in absolute silence, eating unseasoned boiled potatoes, waiting for someone to grunt so they can all politely leave the room and go stare at different walls. It is bleak.
It is a profound study in dysfunction. And yet, sociologically, we cannot look away. It's captivating.
We really can't, and that is why we do this. Babes, thank you so much to the entire Snark squad for hanging out and drinking spiked lemonades with us today. This was a heavy discussion, but unnecessary one to unpack the layers of what we are watching.
We love analyzing the mess with you all. It is therapeutic.
Before we go, we have 4 very important questions for you. Please drop your answers in the comments or send us a message because we need to know where you stand on these critical issues. Number 1, which family member stresses you out the most and why?
Number 2, have you ever had a shady confession, like the LinkedIn premium disaster that you were brave enough to share with the class?
Number 3, do you actually, deep down in your soul, believe Mercury retrograde is real and currently ruining your life?
And number 4, what random bizarre hobby did you become intensely obsessed with for exactly 1 week before completely quitting? Like my soon-to-be-abandoned international DJ career.
My fake DJ name is still DJ Cattywampus, and I stand by it. Please remind yourselves to like, comment, subscribe, and share the show with your messiest besties. Spread the snark.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over. We've talked a lot about Ethan's repression today. Think about this. Ethan completely shuts down when cameras, conflict, and family are around. He goes functionally mute. Is his silence purely a symptom of his deep childhood trauma and his genuine inability to process complex emotion? Or is his silence actually a highly calculated, weaponized tactic? Does he play dumb to ensure he never actually has to take accountability for his actions, make a difficult choice, or do the hard work of maintaining a relationship? Ponder that.
Oh, that is chilling. The idea that his incompetence is actually a strategy. I'm going to be thinking about that all night. Babes, stay messy.
Stay delusional.
And we will see you on the snark side.